City of Stevens Point Board of Park Commissioners meeting, recorded September 1st, 2021.
Evening, everybody. We will call the regular meeting of the Parks Board of Commissioners for August 4th, 2021 in session. And I guess we'll start with the roll call. Dan, you want to call the roll, please?
Freckman? Here. Gladusky?
Here.
Hall?
Here.
Kirsch is excused. McDonald?
Here.
O'Connor?
Here.
Shabilsky?
Here.
Alder Short?
Here.
Alder Slawinski?
Here.
Sorensen?
Here.
Alder Zarazua?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Excellent. All right, we'll move down to agenda item number 2, approval of the August 4th, 2021 meeting minutes.
So moved.
Mike?
Second.
Sue? Any questions or comments? All right, all those in favor of approving the minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
So I gotta keep forgetting the delay. I'm gonna get this yet. All right. Item number 3, presentation and update on the Emerson Park project by the Friends of Emerson Park.
We do have Alder Ginger Keemer here tonight, as well as President Johnson.
Well, thank you for having us. Prior to becoming alder, I spent the last, we just lost our,
It should come back.
it'll come back, okay. Prior to serving on council, I spent the last 4 years working with the Friends of Emerson Park. That's basically how I got my start in working in the neighborhood. And I guess today we just want to take the opportunity to just kind of update you with where we are. I'm going to kind of go over just sort of where we started, what the vision is for the park, where we're at now, and then Melise is going to kind of bring us forward where we're moving toward the future, because we're kind of at a pretty exciting, crucial point. We've just partnered with James Radford and Baker Street Consulting, and he has a lot of experience working with nonprofits and helping with capital campaigns. So he's adding a lot of energy and movement towards the project. So I guess moving to the next slide. For those of you who don't know, that Emerson parcel on Clark Street between Division and Michigan served as a school site for over 100 years. So there's 2 schools and a barracks buried under that foundation. The last school was demolished, I believe, around 2001. And so for essentially almost 20 years, that parcel was just neglected. There was very little or no maintenance done to it. And so when the city acquired it in 2019, essentially there's been no improvements to that for half of a century, for 50 years. All the equipment that you see there is from the late 60s and early 70s. And our goal, overall is just to provide safe recreational outdoor space to that park, and to kind of revitalize it and bring it back to its full potential. So to begin with that, what we started to do as a neighborhood group was just start some neighborhood meetings where we talked to local residents who lived around the park about, how do you use this space? What do you wish the space could be? What are your priorities for this space? And kind of just brainstorm with them things they wanted to see, didn't want to see. And from there, we had a really unique opportunity to work with one of the forestry professors at UWSP who is doing an urban forestry project. And she wanted to use Emerson Park as a site for her students' capstone project. So the students in that class spent the whole semester designing, putting together a design plan or a site plan for Emerson based on all of that community feedback that we had gathered from residents and neighbors. And then they presented those to the Parks Department and to us and to their professor. And we kind of took all of that information and put together a survey that we posted for city residents to get their feedback of, this is, opportunity or potential of what this park could be, what are things you like and you don't like. And then we took all of that information to Rattler Corporation, and then they put together a professional plan or professional concept site plan based on the community and the residents and the student projects into one kind of comprehensive whole. So essentially what that looks like is a pretty simple thing. What we overwhelmingly heard from residents in the neighborhood is they wanted to maintain that wide open space. You know, for throwing frisbee, playing soccer. One of the things that's really unique about that neighborhood is, and I think maybe for the urban core of Stevens Point, is just the lots are very small. People have really small yards. This is an open space where they can play and gather. I think the main priority also from residents in the community was to modernize the playground. And then the third thing was the basketball court, wanting to modernize and improve that. That's one of the more heavily used aspects of that. And I think there's just not a lot of basketball courts aside, I think, from Texas Park. I mean, it's just not something you see. So that was our three main goals: improve the turf, modernize the playground, and then the multi-purpose athletic court. So this is what Rettler came up with for us. What you see there, and so on the right, yeah, sort of that wide open space. They kind of shifted things around. They have the playground moving from that northeast corner to the southwest corner, so it's a little away from, you know, heavier traffic. And then also the court kind of up in that quarter, which allows you to keep a lot of the open space on the right. And then they did add a pavilion, that number 9, that circle center up there. So those are sort of the three main components, and we've broken that down into 3 phases. So we go forward. So the first phase of the plan would be kind of getting the ground ready, the foundation ready, and putting the playground in, because I think that's really the part that we've been most excited about moving forward. And then the second phase would be the athletic court, and the third phase, the pavilion. And those are sort of broken down into 3 sort of equal sized financial pieces. The first phase is estimated, I think, at about $275,000. Forward. So that Rettler came up and did this beautiful fly-through video. So I'm gonna actually come back to that at the end. And then I just kind of wanted to update you with where we are. So overall, they estimated this project at about $750,000 in 2019 dollars. Now that's for everything. That's all the turf improvements, the playground, the athletic court, the pavilion. We kind of broke that down into phase 1 being the turf and the playground. And so that's the money we've been working towards right now. Danielle Weaver, who's co-chair with our primary focus in the last year or so has really been on grant writing. So you'll see at the top are all of the grants that we've been awarded so far. That second section are all of the grants that we have pending. They're either money that's been pledged, primarily pledged but not received. And then the bottom section are all future grants that we're planning to apply for this fall and this spring. So it adds up to potentially a really large number, in particular that DNR land stewardship grant, which we've been really building up to apply for this spring. That's not going to get us to nearly $1 million. So aside from the grant writing, what we really need is philanthropic dollars from family foundations, from community philanthropists, from corporations and businesses and whatnot. But I think despite COVID, we've managed to do fairly well and had a pretty vigorous grant writing campaign so far. But we're at kind of a turning points now with Baker Street Consulting, where we're really bringing this much more beyond our small core of board members. So with that, I'll let Melissa kind of take it over.
Hello, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Melissa Johnson. I'm the alder for the 5th district, which is adjacent to Emerson Park. I'm council president. I'm in my 5th term. But I'm really here tonight, not in those capacities, although I wear those hats. That's part of who I am. I'm the co-founder of the Friends of Emerson Park. And I founded the Friends of Emerson Park with 2 of my friends, former Alder Garrett Ryan and Mike Bialis. Some of you may know both of them or one of them. And We actually founded the Friends of Emerson Park over beer at the brew house in the basement of the University Center. Yes, our work gets done over beer at the University Center. We had been meeting for, oh my gosh, 3, 4, 5 months after I became alder on how we transition, how we encourage the city of Stevens Point to have a very nice conversation with the school district of the school district of Stevens Point to actually get the Emerson Park parcel, 2.18 acres, from the school district ownership to the city ownership, which used to be the city ownership, so this back and forth. And we realized that this was happening. So the city had given to the school district for $1, Mike O'Mara will remind us, 14 properties, including Emerson Park, or Emerson School, which includes that 2.18 acres. Well, as Alder Kiemer indicated, in 2001, that school became a little unstable. Former Alder Cindy Nabel was a teacher there, and she said, I backed up one day to the blackboard, and I looked up, and I could see sky. I think that means the building is a little unstable and probably needs to be either fixed or demolished. The plan was demolish it, and that's exactly what happened, and it is buried mostly on site. Some of it went to landfills, of course. But the school district said, we spent $180,000 on demolishing it. We want to be reimbursed for that. And the city said, yeah, but we gave it to you for $1. And so this is where we were. And Mike and Garrett and I said, how do we get past this? How do we get past this? And we said, we engage the community. Because the voice of the people is far more powerful than the administration's doing this. And that's exactly what we did. We formed the Friends of Emerson Park, and we engaged the entire District 3 and District 5 community. And we brought them together at Jefferson School for our very first meeting. My gosh, was that 5 years ago? And the room was packed with people who wanted to see Emerson Park become a reality. That vacant parcel become the open space for all of these tiny parcels of property where we love to live because it's a great walkable area, but where children could go and run and play, and families could gather, and the community could be together. So we started the Friends of Emerson Park, and we knew it was going to be an uphill battle, but the voice of the people prevailed. And within a year, the city and the school district said, let's play together, and they did, and we now have Emerson Park. However, to make it truly, as one little boy said to me on Saturday at the farmer's market, I really want a beautiful playground, Melissa. When are you going to make that happen? And I said, hopefully next summer. We need a little bit of money for that, because even though the city of Stevens Point, thank you, Dan, and your predecessor, Tom Schrader, for allowing $60,000 in the capital budget. From the city of Stevens Point, it's not $900,000, which is the dollars that we probably need to make this happen. So here we are. We've raised some money. We have dozens and dozens and dozens of citizens who have given $25, $10, $100, given memorials on behalf of people they love who went to Emerson School. How many of you went to Emerson School as a school?
How about taught there?
Yep, as a toddler. Holy smokes, Sue.
No, I said taught there.
Taught there. You taught there?
I taught 6th grade
You
there.
taught there?
Yes.
Chemistry, or what did you teach?
Science.
Science, and I'm not surprised. My first dance as a teenager was in the basement of Emerson School. So I have fond memories, and I love this park, but we need more money. Now, where have we gone from the wonderful, wonderful gifts of our community? Scores of people contributing. The great, great grant writing of Alder Kiemer and Danielle Weaver, our co-chairs, and really Dan really helping us, guiding us, is the next phase. And this all happened when I was at the Elks Lodge, and I was meeting with the Elks board. great group of people, very nice. I knew many of them, so I felt very comfortable, and we had a great conversation. But the chair, Jim Buck, many of you probably know him. He's a realtor in our community, a community leader, and he looked at me and he goes, "What's your capital campaign plan?" And I said, "Well, we have some people who've been doing fundraising." And he goes, and I was intimidated, and he goes, "No, I mean, how are you going to raise the money? This isn't fundraising." And I realized that he was absolutely right. We were doing fundraising. We were basically trying to fund the Army by selling hot dogs. While this stuff is really important, it isn't going to get us. We have to sell a lot of hot dogs to get to $900,000. I had the good fortune about 2 years ago, if you all recall, the Fox Theater was demolished, and as a part of that, Create Portage County had been looking at some options on that, and they had hired Jim Radford, Jim Radford of Baker Street Consulting, to do a feasibility study on the Fox Theater and doing a new entrepreneurial center there. I met Jim that day, and I knew that he had a gift that I wanted to keep in the back of my mind as a possibility. So that day when I was challenged in the boardroom at the Elks Lodge on what the Friends of Emerson Park was going to do to achieve their goals, I knew I needed to get back to the board and reach out to Jim Radford and Baker Street Consulting. So go ahead. And that's exactly what the Friends of Emerson Park did. Our board of directors basically gave us the charge, us, the leadership group of the Friends of Emerson Park, our core team, the authority to move forward with working with Baker Street Consulting and developing a philanthropy campaign. Jim made it very clear, you're not fundraising. You are doing philanthropy. You are looking for community philanthropists to invest in your dream, in your vision. And he said something very important. Philanthropists also have dreams, and they probably also have dreams for this parcel and have had those dreams, and you just need to connect with them. So we've had 3 meetings. We're going to have the 4th meeting tomorrow with Baker Street Consulting. Jim Radford doesn't come cheap. I don't know what he charges for his services. He works across the United States on helping communities realize their philanthropy goals. In fact, how many of you remember the old Charles M. White Memorial Library? Yep, I'm seeing some shaking heads. Jim was responsible for helping Stevens Point realize the philanthropy goals for that. He also was responsible for realizing the goals at St. Joe's for their multipurpose facility, if you know that, and also St. Bronislav's in Plover, the new church where my father-in-law had his burial service. And anyway, so we've reached out to Jim, and Jim is like, I love your story. I love your plan. I love your vision. How can I help you make that happen? And he is now a member of our team. He has invested both figuratively and literally. He has donated to the Friends of Emerson Park, and Baker Street Consulting is providing us in-kind services as our capital campaign advisor. And how this will go, as you can see the flow chart, Baker Street Consulting is everywhere. We're using their expertise. We're not, my daytime job, I manage garbage. I don't know how to do this sort of thing. I can run an $8 million department, but I cannot figure out how to raise $900,000. So Baker Street Consulting will help the Friends of Emerson Park, our leadership team, which is Ginger, me, Danielle Weaver, and Mike Bialis. They will help us. We will report back. I should have arrows back and forth there, but I don't. Develop what we need to move forward. Our steering committee is the next step, and we're hoping to formulate a steering committee, which we hope to have September 23rd, our first meeting, and then, of course, a campaign committee. So all of this is part of the Baker Street model to help us realize that $900,000. Okay, Dan. Here's just a timeline. I mean, we were all kind of like, well, you know, if this happens, we're hoping this happens. And Jim's like, nope, here's the timeline, get going. Each moment that we wait is a missed opportunity. And he has us on a pretty aggressive timeline. Now, give or take, will it be 17 months? Will it be 19 months? Will it be 16 months? But according to Jim, your major gifts happen in the first few months of your campaign. So while we have a phased development, and if we are only able to realize enough money for phase one and give, it was Cormac who asked me at the market, give Cormac his beautiful playground so he doesn't have to play on the ugly playground, as he said. We want Cormac to play on a beautiful playground. Then we've got a plan for that. But if we're lucky, and if we're good at our planning, and we listen to our campaign coach, Baker Street Consulting, in a couple of years, that site's going to be developed with a $900,000 improvement to the community, which also will increase the values of the properties around there. Go ahead. So a lot of text. I don't expect you to read that, and if you want, we can definitely provide you with that. This is about the phasing of the capital campaign. This should not be misinterpreted to be in any way sort of the construction phasing. So even though they may be, following in line with, but they really are different. So the construction planning is a little bit different, and I've had a conversation with Dan. I love construction work because that's what I do for a living, but this is really the capital campaign, those activities that we're going to be doing. And again, in a very methodical, very systematic, very objective methodology. Go ahead. This is how Jim Bradford and Baker Street Consulting kind of sees this playing out in major gifts. This doesn't mean that we want to dismiss those opportunities for all of those wonderful gifts that are coming in memorial of an individual who loved Emerson School. We absolutely want those, and we've had conversations. If we raise in excess of our goal, do we look at an endowment for the continued upkeep of Emerson Park so that it doesn't become a burden to the city of Stevens Point, so that Dan's team, or whoever comes after Dan when he wins the lottery and goes on to do bigger and better things, how can we support that? Because if we're going to create this, we want to ensure its resiliency and longevity well into the future, past my time, past Ginger's time, past Dan's time, past anyone here. We want Emerson Park to be a jewel for the city of Stevens Point. And again, our first step is our steering committee. We're in the process of recruiting a few key members of our community to help our core team. Again, Ginger, Danielle, Mike, and I. That steering committee is really kind of doing just what they do. You've probably all served on a steering committee at some point. Help, and I see you did. Was it a good experience? I saw from your nod it might not have been.
No, I actually enjoy that kind of visionary work, and it's a combination of visionary and operational. It can be a really good experience if it's done right.
I completely agree, because I've served on some steering committees where you're just going, it's floundering, it's not going anywhere, but when you get the right kind of leadership, it can be magical. I completely agree. So we are looking at those key individuals from our community. Of course, if anybody is interested or experienced in that sort of thing, I'm reeling you in.
I should have kept my mouth shut.
And and again, we're looking at September 23rd, which is a day I love because that's when my daughter was born. But could that give or take a few days? But it's about launching that how do we set out the campaign plan? What does that look like? Who are key leaders? Because Ginger, Danielle, Mike, and I are not going to be the fundraisers. We are not going to be doing the major asks. It is our community leaders who need to lead that effort. Go ahead, Dan. And then, of course, the campaign committee. And Jim said, the campaign committee for the Charles M. White Memorial Library met 2 times. The steering committee teed everything up. Said, here you go. Here's the plan. Get going and start raising the money. And then they came back for the ribbon cutting. So we're going to be looking to recruit members of the campaign committee as well. They probably won't be operational until December, maybe January, kind of depends. So looking for those chairs, those key people from our community. I saw the new chancellor yesterday at an event. Actually, I was sorting garbage yesterday. Yes, I like doing that. But he was there and I said, hey, I would love to talk with you, but I can't talk right now because the students are contaminating the compost with recycling and we can't do that. But, you know, sort of an honorary chair, our new chancellor serving as honorary chair. Would he do it? I haven't even asked him. But what a great connection. We're adjacent to the community. Many students use Emerson Park. So the campaign committee, we're looking to coordinate, like I say, December, January. Go ahead. Our goal is to raise $900,000. And if we raise more, it's to set up an endowment so that we can always care for Emerson Park. So our city center, the core of our community, will be a shining jewel. It will be where people want to live, work, play. That's what our goal is. And it's just such a pleasure working with such wonderful people and with a community who cares. So happy to take questions. I could talk about this forever, but I won't. So,
Dan really likes the fly-through video.
yeah, show the fly-through.
I thought
Yeah.
we would save that for the end. I will say too, there's no narration.
Only
for
Dan
this.
can see it.
Oh, you gotta show your
Whoa.
He likes it so much.
How is it, Dan?
I can see it. It's really great, trust me.
Thank you, McCare.
Bear with me.
Yeah.
I got a glimpse.
And this was provided in kind by Rutler, so I just want to emphasize, we've got tens of thousands of dollars of in-kind support for this project.
I will just say while this is playing too, if you've ever looked at a map.
I had to go to the mic.
Okay. That's right, because there's people online. If you've ever looked at the map of all the parks in Stevens Point, primarily they're along the periphery of the town. So they're all on the city limits. And I think what's really unique about this project is that it's in the center of the city. It's in the heart of Stevens Point. And, you know, I live 3 blocks away. Until this was formally declared a park, there were no public parks in District 3. There was no public parks north of the railroad tracks in District 5. You know, we have these wonderful facilities at Buchholz and Iverson that are just, you know, they're not in the core. And this is an opportunity to provide parks and recreational services to people who live in the core, which, I mean, it's a very, very high density area. I think Melissa had figured out that was the largest share of tax revenue comes from just per acre comes from District 3 and District 5. So
It's the magic of density.
And I was going to say something coming up here, and I forgot because you asked me a question. Anyway, yeah, it's lost now, but
they'll come back.
it'll come back.
Are there, and I guess I mean, well, just.
You wanna,
Yeah. Any questions?
I guess I've got a couple.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
how does, I live actually in the corner of Michigan and Jefferson, so I'm really, my kids used to play in that park all the time.
Yeah.
So what consideration went in the design in terms of accommodating the mixed residential zoning there? Because we got a mix of college students, rentals, and single dwellings. So kind of walk me through the consideration and talking with those different constituents that led to that final design.
So our initial conversations were really with owner-occupied. Well, I shouldn't say owner-occupied, because I rent. I rent and I live in District 5. It was more looking at opportunities for families. That was kind of our primary focus. And then that kind of expanded to, well, we applied for a grant for AARP. How do we make this more accessible for individuals my age? I'm 65, I'll be 66 soon. Who might have a difficulty walking across uneven surfaces of the grass. So we started incorporating that in, and that became a factor that we asked Brettler to consider. And then really when we started talking about the basketball and multi-purpose area, that's when we started talking with students about the things that they wanted. We've tried to be as inclusive as possible. Are we going to miss points? Absolutely. But you can see a pickup game there almost every Saturday or Sunday afternoon. And that's why a basketball court is so essential to this. So, yeah.
Yeah, just to add on that too, it is a very diverse community in terms of the age of the residents. There's seniors, there's students, there's young families, there's professionals. And I think making that park an inclusive park for all those different age groups was important to us. And again, yeah. Mike, you're good.
No, I was just gonna add one thing, and then
Yeah.
also some intricacies that we didn't necessarily show today, but the Friends of Emerson Park went really above and beyond. If you look, there's actually permanent cornhole bags, that boards that are there for, some of that older, maybe college student age that wants to play that type of game in a park. And that green space also allows if they wanna come over, college age students, for example, put a blanket down and they wanna throw Frisbee or, play a different type of game that's not oriented towards the playground end of it. They kind of have that blank space like they do now. And one other thing we talked about is that a lot of people right now currently, because there's nothing there, have used it as a dog park.
Yeah.
So the idea of leaving some green space, but also not having the entire thing be so open is, by ordinance, we don't allow, dogs off leash. And that's on purpose, obviously, when you kind of start mixing children around and giving that area. So this kind of incorporated both aspects of that design to get what we want for the families and the diverse population in that area, but also leave that blank canvas.
No, I appreciate that. And I appreciate the consideration of the multiple constituents.
Yeah.
And that neighborhood is really diverse. So
Yeah.
is the plan still then in the winter that we would have a sheet of ice there as well? Or is
Yes,
it-
I
okay.
will say the skating rink in that park is very popular with the community, and that overwhelmingly was something we heard in neighborhood meetings is that they wanted that rink to stay. And I think especially during COVID, like we used it way more than we ever have. And it's a very unique one in that it kind of meanders, so there's like pathways. So the way the design is set up would allow that skating rink to continue. Yeah.
And those of you who know Mike Bialis, we would not get away with designing a park without an ice skating area. So absolutely had to happen. So it's not just a summer place. This is an all year long place. And more recently, and it was Jim Radford who said, have you considered, sort of the multicultural aspect, because District 3 and District 5 are some of the most diverse culturally in the community, especially as we look at the new census. And he said, well, you have a great sign out there. Is it interpreted into Hmong? Is it interpreted into Spanish? So I'm in the process of trying to get at least the basics there and actually having a conversation with leaders in the Hmong community to see if they'd be interested in either the steering committee or our operational committee. So we're trying to really reflect the character of our community.
I will just say too, like we are actively recruiting you. Like we are here today
Yes.
because we want you to be part of our steering committee, and we know a lot of you have experience on steering committees, and that, the more people we get on board with this, the faster this is gonna go. And I think part of what Jim explained to us, or what he's, the vision he sort of inspired us with is that, if you get the right people on board with this can happen very, very quickly. And so I think some of, that neighborhood is home to a lot of community leaders who grew up in that neighborhood. They went to Emerson School. And so by pulling those people into the campaign and giving them ownership of it, we can really get this done. So, and I think also just that, this doesn't have to be a huge time commitment, that this could happen very quickly, and that not everyone has to be, a fundraiser asking people for money. There's lots of different roles you can play in terms of the planning and the strategy. So.
Yeah. Jim Radford is just an amazing human. I mean, he's built an amazing business around philanthropy. And the first meeting that Ginger, Danielle, and I and Mike Bialis had with him, and the first thing he said was, stop calling it fundraising. This is about philanthropy. Stop. And I mean, he blew our minds away. I mean, we were just sitting there after he had left. We went, oh my gosh, for the first time ever, we feel like this can really happen. I mean, we've always had the vision. We knew we wanted to make this happen. This is going to happen. And this is going to be a shining, shining example of what happens when you engage a community and you've got a great story and a way to make the communities just brilliant. So it's been so much fun working with so many different people, and I just feel very blessed to be able to have had that opportunity. Other questions?
Other questions? I guess I'll open it up to Chair McDonald or Alder Slawinski. Questions from your end at all?
No, thank you, not at this time. It's really a great project.
Yeah, I really think you're on the right track with what you're doing. You got the right ideas, and just like to thank you, ladies, and the other people for the work that you've done for Stevens Point so far.
Yes.
It's been a pleasure, really a distinct pleasure. Did Alder Slawinski, did you have anything?
No, not at this time. Again, I guess I want to echo what the others have stated, that, I appreciate all the work that the group is doing, and sounds like you have a very strong plan in place, and I strongly believe that, the community is going to step up and bring this to life.
Thanks, Jeremy.
So any other questions? Otherwise, thank you for the update. This is progressing well. We appreciate
Yeah.
you coming in to give us an update.
Thank you, everyone. This was fun.
All right, moving on to agenda item number 4, Director's Report.
I just have a couple things tonight, real short. The first thing I'm going to show is in the director's report, you'll see that there's an item about a possible gazebo in Veterans Memorial Park. So an update on this. This predates me. In 2018, Kubi's Bar ran a fundraiser for their son to do an Eagle Scout project in Veterans Memorial Park. Kubi's Bar is right over here across the street. With COVID, it ultimately didn't end up getting done. So it's been sitting on a shelf, and Bill, I'm going to say his last name wrong, so I'm just going to say Bill K., came to see me and talked to me about it. We ended up going to the site, looking it over. This is what the plan is. We'd like to put a concrete sidewalk that attaches to the accessible walks that go into Veterans Memorial Park and connect to the monument. And the gazebo would sit adjacent to the playground and back from the monument. John Krajewski is a gentleman that's been a volunteer out of this park for a long time. He does a tremendous amount of volunteer work. John said that the city has always tried to maintain a buffer around the monument so that it doesn't impact or impede the view of it, as well as what the monument stands for to the veterans. This location is outside of that buffer. John has visited the site with us. He's also in support of the idea of it. So where we're at in this process, our zoning department and our building inspection department is regulating this as a commercial development. So the short answer is we're in the middle of a lot of red tape, but we believe that we'll get to a point where we can actually get this installed, hopefully before the middle of October. In the middle of October is when Bill's son turns 18, so the Eagle Scout project needs to be completed by then. So the only thing we're remaining on ultimately is this is a kit-built gazebo from Menards, and the plans that you get in these kits do not get into architectural level where there's wind loads and snow loads. And that's where we're kind of at a hang up right now. As a commercial development, we have to have that type of thing. So we're trying to sort out if there's a way for us to achieve that or find it without requiring paying an architect as an Eagle Scout to do it. So we're hoping to get through it, but that's a little bit where we're at an impasse right now. But if this does happen, we will help remove some of the black dirt for the boy so that he can go ahead and get started on it. And then that young man plans to work with his dad to finish that here in October. So if you see that go in, we'll probably have some sort of ribbon cutting or something once that's done. So
when those the gazebos along the river, are those that were built?
my understanding is those were not regulated the same way, but that it goes back some time. So I'll leave it at that. Moving on to the next thing, the Iverson Park restroom project. That one has actually been demoed. So if you go down to Iverson Park, you'll see the old restroom is gone, and they're actually working to put the concrete foundation in for the new restroom. If you get a chance soon, before they start pouring it, go take a look at the groundwater there. Right now, when they're dewatering, you'll actually see the groundwater running in from a ways up the actual hole that they've dug for the foundation. It's actually really interesting to see, if obviously about looking at things that you don't normally see underground. So with the high water table, they believe it's already receded enough that they think they'll be able to move forward. But it's interesting to stand and watch at just what the environment has in front of you. So where we're at with that is they believe hopefully by the end of the week, early next week, they can pour foundations, and then that building will take shape pretty soon. That won't likely open this fall. They have until the middle of November to finish it. And because we're past that cold time of the year, we'll pressure test everything for air, make sure there's no leaks in the lines. We'll first actually energize the water and the electricity and everything come spring. We do have a year warranty, and that'll trigger from that date, so it won't affect anything for us, but we don't want to fire everything up and then blow it right back out here this fall. So if you get a chance to go down there, there is a perimeter fence around it now. And it's amazing when we demoed it, how many people were interested in what's going on now. Like, oh, it's gone, where do I go to the restroom, stuff like that. So that project has been long overdue, and we're looking forward to seeing that take shape. So those are the only two things I have tonight.
Any questions for Director Kramer? All right, moving on to agenda item number 5, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. John, we have a second? Sue? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, thank you, folks. We stand adjourned.
A video of this meeting is available for viewing on the city's website, stevenspoint.com/videos.